Okay, this is the first, you see that picture? Me, 1979, sat on a rug. That's all I can really remember. My dad was a carpet salesman, so we obviously got the perks of the awful carpet, thanks to him. 1980, this is me, terrible twos. I hated the dress, absolutely hated being dressed up like a princess by my mother. But that year, I also got stuck in railings and a fireman had to come and rescue me. That's why it looks like I've got sticky out ears in that picture. This next one, same red dress, but this was a year later. There's me sat next to my gran. This day, my father left me outside of a church. I was supposed to be going into Sunday school, but the girls who I used to see there came out and said to me, "There's no Sunday school today," yet my father had already driven off. And I was so tiny, I can't believe he did it. But I remember thinking rationally, even as a really small child, and I started to walk home, and it was snowing, and there was a long road to walk, but I carried on, I kept going, and all of a sudden a lady came to speak to me and said my name, so she must have known me. She recognised my outfit, I think, because we were always going to Sunday school usually, me and my mum. And this lady, I did recognise her, but she said she knew me anyway, and she recognised my outfit and my hair, and she offered to walk me the rest of the way home. And I got home, and my mum was fuming with my father. She couldn't believe what happened when the woman told my mum that she found me walking along this big road on my own. But then anyway, thankfully, my mother said I didn't have to go back to church. I hated it. I hated Sunday school. And I never had to go again. This is 1982. We got our first cat called him Monty. He was a chocolate brown Havana breed. He was absolutely gorgeous and my best friend. And Christmas that year, also the big large teddy bear, I had that for Christmas. I loved it. This is, I'm trying to think, 1983. This picture, me and my godbrother, and there's a teddy bear on the left. I loved that bear, and my brother went on to perform operations on it and everything, just trying to wind me up. But that bear, I left it in an airport years later. I was gutted. I left it, I think, in Mallorca. This is 1984. My mum, again, used to always try and dress me up in pretty things. Anyway, she had a lovely pink coat she loved, and she bought me a similar one so we could be matching. And this day I threw the coat off a cliff into the sea because I hated it. And in this picture she looks so annoyed and tired, but I didn't mean to be naughty. I just threw it away because I hated it. And I told her, the wind just took it away, and it did, really. I just hated the coat, so I think it had to go. But it backfired because I think she bought me another one anyway. This one is 1985. This is me and my brother sat on a train about 4 o'clock in the morning on our way to Gatwick. We were due to fly out to Lanzarote on a holiday. I absolutely loved that outfit I've got on, and I tried to fit into it for years, but it wouldn't last forever. And there's my brother's trying to mouth the F word in this picture, and I used to think he was hilarious all the time. He was so funny, just being naughty all the time. Always trying to make people laugh. This is, I think, 1986. a holiday in a caravan in Tenby. We had been broken into in our holiday. The caravan got broken into. But it didn't affect us really. Nothing much got stolen. And I discovered I loved picking up crabs, and I used to put them in my dad's bed to frighten him. This was in 1987, the year I left my teddy bear in the airport. This is my brother sat in the airport waiting to come home. But that was our last family holiday together. My brother went missing on that holiday for only about 3 days. He just, in his teens, rebelling, and just met up with some people and decided he'd rather go and get drunk for a while, and he came back, all was okay again, but I had to share a hotel room with him for the rest of the holiday, and every night he was drinking and just telling me stuff I was too young to understand, but I still think he was my big brother, I used to listen to him, and I tried to help him, and it was just, him being young and stupid and getting drunk all the time, but it was okay, because I think we talked more than we'd ever done. I used to think he hated me most of the time, but it was nice because we got to know each other better, and I liked watching him sleep, and I started encouraging him, to just come down to the pool with me every day then, and we enjoyed the rest of the holiday. It was good. It worked out well in the end. And this is 1988. This is me with my brother and the cat we got. This year was very eventful. My parents got divorced. All of the grandparents died. And Dad used to, I think, feel a bit guilty because he wasn't coming to see me anymore. So he got me this piano, which we stripped and painted and rebuilt it. I really don't know why. It was pink, but I hated the pink. I would have rathered it was black, but there we go. If you notice, there's some of my artwork already appearing on the walls on the left. Darren had to, I think he felt he needed to become the man of the house then because Dad had left. He was trying to, work out. He was tiny, it seems, there, but he did go on to become bigger. He felt he had to protect me and Mum. But we were happy. We were so happy Dad had gone. We really were. He used to just come in every night from work and just ruin things. So we were really happy. Just us and the cat. It was good. This is, I think, 1989. This is at Cowbridge School. My brother, who's in the middle, was asked to do a fashion show for the fashion students. He was a model in the fashion show. And I went to watch it with my mum. I was so proud of him, and I thought, wow, I'll be going to this school, one day. And he wasn't actually attending the school at that year, 89. He'd already left. But he was asked to go back and do it anyway because they loved him so much in that school. He was so well known. I thought, oh, here we go. It'll be great because I'll go to school. He'll have people there who know him. And it'll be all okay. I was looking forward to going. I thought he was so handsome and he was really nice to me that night, I remember, because he had a drink in his hand. But I didn't mind. He was really nice to me. Usually we were fighting or arguing or he was winding me up, but he was really nice. I loved it. It was a good night. This is 1990. I just chose this picture because this was the year I went to the high school that he went to. And as I said before, he was well known for... So my brother is the second from the left on this one, looking like the Hulk. He used to wind me up with horror stories about the school, that I would get bullied or picked on, but then he said, no, you'll be fine, because all the teachers know me. there's lots of people who know me, you'll be fine. But he was known for, I suppose, the wrong things. He was a bit of a tearaway, but he was lovable. He wasn't evil. He just did stupid things, like destroyed a door on the science department. I think he let down the headmaster's tyres. Nothing too bad. It wasn't that bad. But I did start going to the school, and yeah, a lot of the teachers said, "Oh, you're so-and-so's sister. We knew him. He was funny, and it was okay." I did actually start getting bullied though in that school, and it was horrible. But at the time then, when I was in that high school, my brother had started work for my father in a warehouse, and he used to get to come out and deliver carpets with the van. He'd stop by the school and see me at lunchtime. It was brilliant because people who were bullying me used to see how big he was and never sort of touched me again then. He said, point me out, who are they? And it was good because I didn't ask for it, but he knew he could, he wanted to protect me. He said that, and he did when he could. It was great. It was nice. This is from 1991, and that's the year my brother died in a car accident. It was only a month before Christmas, and in this photo I've got maths homework on the table. I remember it was Christmas Eve. I hadn't been back to school since he died, but I was told, I should try and make it in the new year, so I tried to finish up doing homework. I was doing homework the night the policeman arrived at the door and said, what had happened. I was really, I suppose, not happy, but glad I found this photo because I remember it so well. It was too much to think that I could carry on because I was told not long after he died that, the wrong sibling died, things like that, and my mother went, understandably, really down. So did my father, and the house was totally empty. Where it was me and my brother and my mum, we were a close-knit, happy unit. It had just gone to just me and my mother, who hated me because I actually survived, and her words were the wrong one died, because I agree he was so much more than I was. He was brill, and so that, anyway, I spent a while thinking about it, but I knew there was nothing left for me. And that night I took an overdose, and for some stupid reason it didn't work. All that happened was I got really sick. I slept through Christmas Eve, most of Christmas morning. My mum was unaware, obviously, because she used to go to bed early evening. She could only drink, to blot away the pain, which was, as I said, I understand. But it left me with nothing, nobody there. But so anyway, for whatever reason, all I did was get really sick. But she just kept questioning me the next day, what's the matter? But I didn't tell her. And I spent, the next couple of months not going to school. New Year came and went. I couldn't go back to school. Every time I tried, I just want to go home. I couldn't cope with hearing everyone who remembered my brother in school talking to me about him, because I knew that he shouldn't have died. and I just spent the whole year wishing that it had been me. So, anyway, this one is 92. I made it to the next Christmas, thought I'll give it a chance, and it was still just the same, and I couldn't bear it. I was so bored. I started drinking. I know I was only young, but Mum didn't notice. I didn't drink because I wanted to get, I don't know, I wanted to be like her, I suppose, and block everything out. But reminds me of that Christmas. I was putting pants on the cat, love him, because he let me do it, and just, that was it, that I had my cat for company. There's Mum's feet in the background with a glass of wine, or empty glass on the floor. She was zonked. And I tried to then, that night, slash my wrist, but it was a silly story, really. I was trying to dismantle a razor that I found of my brother's, and I ended up slipping and I cut my hand open, and to this day I've got a C-shaped scar on my hand. I remember thinking, wow, that hurt. I don't think I can actually go through with this, because that's really painful. And I tried hiding the blood. There was a lot of blood, and my mum woke up and burst in my bedroom for whatever reason, not because she heard anything, but she did happen to see what I'd done, and she put two and two together and called the doctors. But I said, no, it's not what you think. I was trying to do something, for school and trying to make a stencil or something. And she said, well, you haven't been to school now for nearly a year, so I know you're lying. They'd had social workers were coming around a lot, trying to get me back to school, but I couldn't do it. I'd rather die than go back. I'd rather die than live without my brother and live in a life where I was reminded all the time that I wasn't good enough. And I stopped eating. I couldn't sleep. I was back and forth to the doctors. They were referring me to psychologists, and I just told them I'm fine. I don't know what anyone's fussing about, but I just don't want to go back to school because I can't concentrate. That was the honest truth. I couldn't concentrate on any work. I wanted to just die, but I didn't tell the psychologist that. I just said, what do you expect? I'm really sad. Anyway, they used to see me once a week, and in the meantime, I just stayed in my brother's room. My mum went back to work. I hardly saw my dad. He was getting remarried. He had a new baby on the way. I saw him now and then, but he used to just annoy me so much, because I know towards the last years of my brother's life, my father really just was awful to my brother. He was so ashamed because he amounted to, he didn't do well at school. He never shaved when he turned up for work, but he didn't need to because my father just put him in a cold warehouse. But anyway, he was just awful to him. So I hated my dad. I really did for a while. So I didn't want to see him. As I said, I was staying in my brother's room a lot, thinking a lot, and went to his graveyard a lot in the daytime on my own. That was how my days were spent. But then I tried again to, this time, end it all by, I tried to jump out of a window, only I couldn't fit through. And I'm laughing about it now because it's just, I'm glad I can laugh about it now. That spurred me on to completely stop eating for a long time. And then I became bulimic. That's when I was taken to a special unit, and I had to stay there, a residential. And I was referred to an art therapist, which is what this photo reminds me of. She was lovely, my art therapist. She was the first person who said that it's okay that I survived. Obviously, there's a reason why. I like to think in that of destiny. I totally given up on church and God and faith, whereas my mother, is still a believer in that. But I liked my therapist thinking in that I survived for a reason, and I should try, drawing and art as a therapy. Well, I talked to her, and I did. I told her about everything, and it was a good help for a while. And she gave me brand new things to take home, even when I was allowed home on the weekends. I thought she was so kind, and I couldn't bear to use them, and meant to give it all back to her one day. I've still got it, all the stuff untouched. I couldn't bear to use it, but I never found her to give it back to her. But from then, I knew art was the therapy for me. It was really good. I was still just wanting to get out of that unit, though, and go home to my brother's room. So a part of me became very good at hiding what was going on in my head, and I somehow managed to convince them that I was well, and they let me go home. I turned 16 not long after. I was taken off the books, if you like, of the therapy and the psychologists. This is the only photo I have of when I turned 16. I hate that photo, but that's the only one I've got. I hated everything still about me. I hated the way I looked. My dad thought it was a good idea to have this professional photo done of me because he wanted it. Something nice to remember, me by and to have. I didn't see the point. I stopped wanting to celebrate my birthdays anyway. It was just a reminder that I was still here and my brother wasn't. I obviously, looking back, I wasn't well. And anyway, the unit that I was released from organised me to come to college, to take the GCSEs that I'd never taken from leaving school at the age of 12. And for a while it was okay, but something wasn't right, and I needed my brother back, and I started drinking Southern Comfort. I didn't like it, I hate it, but he liked drinking it, so I thought I'll drink that to be like him, be close to him. He also smoked Benson and Hedges, and I started smoking them. I loved the smell again. It brought me back to him. I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it before. I wore his clothes. I slept in his room. I was drinking every night. My mother was still going to sleep after work early evening. She wasn't noticing it. I didn't come home for 3 nights. I told her I was staying at a friend's house I'd met in college, but really I'd gone to stay in a squat with some guys, and I had no self-respect. I was still on a death wish. I don't know how I didn't end up in a gutter somewhere, but I didn't care whether I lived or died. I left college. I gave up. I was drinking too much, I guess. I just didn't want to know anymore. I started thinking that, I needed my big brother back. That's all I want. I need a male figure. So sex and love were getting confused, or were being confused. I I was looking for something I was never going to find, basically. But anyway, the next one is the result of, I'm never ever going to call it a mistake. My son arrived in the month that my brother had died, a month before Christmas. It was the reason I wanted to live when I found out I was pregnant. It was like everything slotted into place. I'd never ever held a baby in my life. I didn't know if I was going to be okay, but I knew straight away that this is what I was meant to do. I was convinced I was having a boy as well, I did. And my firstborn was born, and I loved Christmas again. I was staying with my mum still, and I put up the decorations. My mum was actually, after shocked initially, she was happy because there was life in the house again. My dad was really pleased, which I find bizarre, because I was just 17. I loved every moment from the moment he was born. This is my firstborn son, the following year, with the cat. We still had that cat. He outlived my brother. Very sad that this year the cat did die, and the cat was 18, same age as my brother. Everything was okay. I had my boy. I moved, and his dad. We all got another house, moved in together, and I had another little boy. And as you can see, Christmas, I love Christmas. I dressed up my youngest. He actually loved talking to that snowman. He must have been about, he's 6 months old. He's talking to the snowman like he's his best friend. He's really cute. And I had 2 reasons to live now. It was brilliant. And everything seemed to just get better magically. It really did. This was my youngest's first birthday. I was just looking through. I can't believe how tidy the floor seems. I've actually hoovered, and I was so organised. I was determined, because I think that's the reason I was determined to be a good mum, because I was criticised in hospital when I was giving birth to my firstborn, because I was just a teenage mum. The midwives were cruel to me, and just expecting that I was going to be a horrible mum and, go out clubbing straight away. And I didn't. I threw myself into motherhood. I loved it. I was really house proud. Everything was perfect. I was really quite good at it. And the following year, we got a cat. This was when I was 21. I got my cat. I had 3 babies now. This one is typical of me enjoying the toys more, I think, than my children. I spent the next years just loving playing with the kids. I loved it. And it was great because I get to play with boy stuff again. It was brilliant. It reminded me of when I was young. Playing with my brother, it was brilliant. I loved it. I still do. Still like hanging out with my kids. This is when they started going to nursery as they get older. They were just happy kids. I loved them. I still do. They're just brilliant. They're funny. They're great. I love them. as they get older. Halloween, loved dressing up. Everything was a major deal. You know, never mind less is more. It was, no, the bigger the better. So we'd have big birthday bashes. There's not a lot of photos of those, but we would, you know, throw ourselves into anything. I think, what year is this? The next one, this is when we had a fire from next door. We had the smoke damage from it, but there were actual flames coming through this vent. And, you know, you hear those stories of mothers lifting cars off their children. I literally had to get the kids out in, you know, one under each arm and get them out straight away together. There was no way I was going to choose which one I take first, but I had to get them out. Smoke was going to kill us in seconds. Thankfully, the house didn't actually burn down, but there was, as I said, a lot of smoke damage, and we lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of pictures of my brother and things I had from, you know, my childhood, and just things that I had that were my brother's. But I knew, more importantly, nobody died. It was okay. Things are just things to me now. It was sad that the pictures went, but we rebuilt everything. We had to throw a lot of stuff out, saved up to buy new things, but we got through it, and we did. It's fine. It was all good. But it really was annoying because it happened a month before Christmas, and I started thinking there's a pattern here now. It's doing my head in. Bad things happening, you know, before Christmas. But that was a busy month, but we got it all sorted, and Christmas carried on. It was good. This one, 2005, I was working for a bottled gas company. There was so much resentment because I had to go and become the breadwinner after my partner became quite ill, and I missed out on years of raising my children. I missed it so much. But I decided as well at the same time I'd go to night school and retake my GCSEs that I didn't do, you know, when I should have. I battled through and I did it, and I passed, and I was really proud of myself, but I still couldn't forgive myself for the upset because my children didn't like me going, and they missed me, and it wasn't the same, you know, with mummy not there doing things. And during that time as well, this is the photo of, it's the car I needed this picture for in the background. This was the replacement car I bought after my original one. I was crushed by a Manitou. It's a massive tractor with like big forks on the front, used for picking up scrap vehicles and shifting them all around. The forks go through the windscreen and they lift them, and anyway, they crush cars with them. And where I worked in the gas yard, there was a scrap car yard, and he didn't see me coming. He had the forks down while he was driving, the guy that crushed my car. Anyway, I pulled over, started beeping out of panic. He just carried on. I couldn't reverse for some reason. My gearbox just stuck, and I thought, this is it, I'm going to die. And the wheels come up over the bonnet and the forks through the windscreen. But I can't believe he then realised that, what am I driving over, and rolled back off. But he couldn't roll. He only rolled a bit, and the top frame of the windscreen of my car was creaking. It was going to collapse, and I couldn't get out of the car. But for whatever reason, it held up. It was a strong car, believe it or not. And they did manage to get the Manitou tractor thing off, but I missed that car. It was a good car. It was ruined anyway, so I had to get this car instead, and it was rubbish. It was crap. And not long after that, I was made redundant, and I was so relieved because it meant I didn't have to go to work for a bit. It was just before Christmas again. It was weird. I think they told me in October, but by first week of December, I had my redundancy money, and this photo reminds me of that Christmas because I had a little bit of cash to make it, a bit more special. I bought my youngest a massive trampoline that he used to get jealous over all the neighbours having, and my eldest one had, I think, was a PSP with loads of games. This picture, I don't know if you can see it. This one reminds me of, this was 2008. My eldest son was playing rugby and he kept collapsing on the field, and it was awful. We didn't know why, what was happening to him, and we spent the following 2 years taking him back and forth to the hospital. They thought he had a heart problem. We were on waiting list after waiting list. Then they wanted to investigate the brain. It was an awful time. I couldn't let him out of my sight in case he collapsed. He seemed to have faint after faint. He nearly impaled himself when I was cooking. He just came out in the kitchen and just missed me when I was holding a knife up in the air, as you do when you're just talking to someone. You wave your hands around and make gestures, and he nearly impaled himself on it. He just went down so hard because he grew up so fast. But at the same time, he wasn't supposed to be doing any exercise. And he ended up breaking his leg and ankle in school. It was just awful to watch him throughout the 6 weeks holidays stuck in. He was already told not to do any rugby or exercise because of the possible heart problem, but he couldn't then walk. It was awful for him. Awful, but I looked after him. At that time, though, I was working in their school. It was good because I was working the hours that would fit in with them, so I had a chance to look after them in the holidays. It was good. This one reminds me of a holiday we had then. He was able to walk. He couldn't still do much, but we just tried to have a nice relaxing breakaway. It was fun, and I was astonished at how fast he was growing. It was frightening. He was so tall. I couldn't believe my first baby compared to me. He's so tall. And another accident. He fell on a uncovered rugby post in school. And we made a joke out of it, which is this photo just screams what we're like as a family. Just put some googly eyes on it. It looks like a mouth. He was so brave about it. And not long after, we had the results. This reminds me of that. In 2011, we had the results. It was all clear. He'd just been, his heart condition was all down to that he grew too fast. I'm still not convinced though, but according to them, they think he's fine. So it was a lot of celebrations for a month or so that, he's just fine, he's happy, he's so lovely. And so is my youngest. This is him with the computer game responsible for a real drum kit in our house, but I love it because it's noise. I love noise again. My youngest is a drummer, the eldest is the guitarist, and it's brilliant. They get on so well. And this is 2012. And my cat, he died. We were all broken-hearted. But this is the last photo I've got on him, of him. And he looks so lovely and fat, very fat. Bit dirty, but he was just a lovely blob. Gorgeous. And this is, I just wanted to put this one in. It's from the same year, 2012. It's just lovely to see them actually walking next to each other instead of arguing. But no, they're great. This is our regular trip to the music shop in town for more supplies, and that's my life now, full of noise, boys, and it's lovely. I'm happy.